Okay, so I built this, right? It's dry as a bone. It's not being used. Let me show you what's going on now. So this is coming out of Slinky's enclosure. The tortoises love it.
You got questions, we've got answers. Just ask Kenan.
You know what today is, right, people? It's Ask Kamp Kenan Day. I'm glad to be here with you. Beautiful day out in South Florida. Today's question comes from our Patreon supporter, Joe O'Brien, and Joe asks, watch out, Joe asks, hey man, what kind of water feature? He's got 2 sulcata tortoises. He wants to build a water feature that they can use. They can soak, they can poop, they can do what they gotta do. He wants to know what kind of features they need. So I'm gonna show you all the different water features that I have in my tortoises, and you can decide, Joe, which is the best for you, or some of you folks out there right now, you'll figure it all out. So, sulcatas, man. These guys come from a very dry, arid region of Africa called the Sahel, which is just below the Sahara Desert. Kind of runs the southern fringe of the Sahara Desert. So, what it does get is some monsoonal rains. So, a lot of the times, their water is standing water, or they're drinking infrequently throughout the year, whenever the rains collect. So, one of the misconceptions about this tortoise and other kind of desert species of tortoise is that they do not drink, or they don't need to drink. I find that extremely disadvantageous to the animal. Is that a word? Disadvantageous? Did I just make
it's a disadvantage? It's disadvantageous.
Yeah, okay. Sometimes I make up words.
No, that was a real word.
That was?
Yeah.
Yeah, let me know in the
Just
comments.
didn't say it. No,
I didn't say
weird.
it properly.
Yeah,
I said it weird, yeah. Anyway, let's not get stuck on the disadvantages of not drinking and sulcata tortoises. But in captivity, as we have said on this channel many, many times, they need to drink. It's very important. So, what do I do for these tortoises? Well, you're going to think this is crazy, but it works very, very well. And, well, let me show you what I got over here. Okay, so I built this, right? This I built a long time ago. And it's dry as a bone. It's got sand in it. It's dirty. It's not being used, is basically what I'm trying to say here, folks. This is not being used. So, you can do something simple like a concrete bowl. I carved it out. It's got a drain at the bottom, but this has been kind of left barren. Let me show you what's going on now. A happy accident that happened is I've got water that drains out here every single day. So this area is always muddy. It's always flowing. You can see the water flowing out right now. Okay? So this is coming out of Slinky's enclosure. It runs for about an hour and a half. So this becomes a bit of a marsh, right? Well, the tortoises love it. And they love it for the reason that they can get in it. It's clean water. They actually take the mud and wallow in the mud and throw the mud up on their backs. Look at this. They'll get in it, they throw the mud up on their backs, and one of the things I've realized, why would they be throwing the mud on their backs? Okay, well, a couple of reasons. Number one, it cools them off. Okay, so they're able to cool down in the heat of the day. The other thing that I notice is when they don't have mud on them, since we're now entering the wet season, mosquitoes are all over the place. Mosquitoes can actually get their proboscis in through the seams of the tortoise's shell and extract blood. So what they're doing is they're creating mosquito repellent. They throw this on, the bugs can't get through it. It's kind of amazing, actually. So yeah, they just walk around with this on them. Again, the important thing is to note, when you do have a water feature, you want to make sure that only one area of their enclosure collects water so they don't get any issues on the bottom of their shell, okay? So this is it. Now, it's kind of funny, man, because you can see here also, when they soak in it, they discharge urates, so their kidneys are getting the proper functioning, they're releasing urates, they're able to pass them, because if they do not drink, they're going to hold on to those urates because they're holding on to as much moisture as they can so they don't dehydrate. And what happens is if they do that, they keep the urates in their body and they can get an impaction, urate impaction, and they will die from renal failure, meaning their kidneys fail. So that's something you don't want to have happen. But they're using this, they wallow in it. The other cool thing is that my big old ficus tree, which is my favorite tree here at Kamp Kenan, is super happy because it gets a lot of water. Water then sinks back into the ground, it goes back into the aquifer. Some of it, of course, evaporates. But this only happens for about an hour and a half. Now, there are other things we can do. I don't want to go there yet. Let's go over here. Let me show you what I've done for some of the other tortoises and give you some ideas, because you can go as grand or as mellow as you want. It depends on your budget and what kind of aesthetic you're looking for. But if we come on over here to the cherry heads, and again, you can see the water's flowing. The Greek tortoises, look at how simple this is. The rhinos and Greek tortoises, they have a simple little zoom ed dish. Works amazing. That's it. The water flows in and flows out. It's no big deal. So I just keep that running. This way, when it comes on the timer, there's always fresh water. That's important. You always are going to want to have fresh water. So you're asking me how to keep it clean. Well, right now, I haven't sprayed this out, so it's got some algae floating in it. It's just free floating string algae. It's no big deal. This stuff will flow over and it kind of washes itself out. And then twice a week I spray it out with the hose. Very simple. If you wanted to, you can put a touch of bleach in it, scrub it, spray it out, and it's back to normal. But since I am allowing this to flow through, it stays very clean. The water quality is good for the tortoises, and I have had no sick cherry head tortoises. You gotta knock on some wood. So this is very simple. Now, obviously, sulcatas are going to be huge, so you're going to want to make a larger water dish that they can get in and soak. Here's another trick you're going to want to use there, Joe, and anyone else who's listening. The sulcatas won't necessarily just drink if they see water. One way to trick them into drinking, or to get them drinking, is to agitate the surface of the water. These animals will only drink in downpours sometimes. So you want surface agitation. How do I do that? Well, you can either have your water source hanging high and it drips into the pond, into the water feature, and that'll create the surface agitation, and the tortoises all come over to it. It's a pretty cool thing to see. They come from far because they see that ripple effect and they're attracted to it. Coincidentally, iguanas like that also. That's why I have the rhino iguana and Greek tortoise thing in that zoom ed dish. Whenever it's bubbling like that, whenever water's dropping into it, then the tortoises and the lizards are attracted to that and they'll go on. So this was our first water feature. This needs to be cleaned, guys. So one of the things I'll do is I come over here and I have this good old channel locks. It's very simple. I keep these handy because Darwin likes to dig around here. This is her mud wallow. Like when I drain this, it becomes a mud wallow. But as you can see, she broke the handles off of that. So I just turn it like this and it drains. So now the water's draining out. I'll let that drain, and later on I'm gonna come back, give it a quick scrub, rinse it out, and fill it back up. But in the meantime, Darwin will see this. She'll come in here and she'll wallow around in the mud and stuff like that. The very first video we did for Kamp Kenan was building this, so if you guys want to go way back and check it out, you can check out how we built this. Now, we built it for the Galapagos tortoises so they can walk up and down and exercise themselves. The sulcatas, I wouldn't recommend doing anything this high. They don't really need that kind of exercise because they live on more desert substrate, so they're adapted to walking on flat ground, whereas the Galapagos tortoises live on those amazing islands, those rocky volcanic islands of the Galapagos, and it is so uneven terrain, so they need that exercise. And there's Socrates getting some. Now I want to go on over and show you what I think is, I think it's just the best way to go. If you're looking for something beautiful, it depends, guys. Like, those were utilitarian, okay? Many of the water bowls that I've built in the past were basically, look, let's just get a water bowl. It functions, it's easy to clean. I can either broom it out, I can drain it, I can spray it, and just fill it right back up because I ran irrigation line to it. But as you guys have seen, you know that I have this friendship with our friends at Aquascape. They have some products that I feel would be really useful when you're trying to create more of a garden atmosphere, more of a zoo-like quality to your animal enclosures. And you guys know I love that because part of my passion for the animals is to create really cool habitats that I can enjoy and they can enjoy, and it's also functional for them. So something that you may want to check out, if your budget allows, is to do something called a Pondless Waterfall. If you can create something maybe a little bit bigger in the basin for those sulcata tortoises to drink from, it does two things. One, the water's moving, so the tortoises are going to be attracted to it. Two, it's not very deep, so they can get in, put their heads under, they can wallow around if they'd like, but they're not going to drown. Very important that we make something that's sloping they can get in and out of. The other really cool thing about what they've done with their designs is they have biofalls, and that is a filtration system. So you can put a pondless waterfall using a biofalls, and that will clean it out. So I think those are the best ways to kind of do the tortoise enclosures with some kind of, you know, we need to aspire to do more. That's what I'm trying to get you guys all stoked on. You know, whatever you got to do, you can make them as big or as small as you want, whatever fits your budget. So I hope you've seen just some of the crazy ways that I do it here today. Maybe got some ideas. As long as the water is always being cycled through, make sure it's clean, because you know what? Clean water is so important for tortoises and of course turtles, but today we're focused on the turtles. But what I said is also true of other lizards like iguanas, green iguanas, rock iguanas, even monitor lizards and stuff like that. If you can build really cool water features that cycle through, it cuts down on the work for you, and if you go big, it will even look beautiful. You could sit and enjoy while they're taking a drink. There you go, everybody. Thanks so much for your question, Joe. Had a great time. Like and subscribe if you find these videos useful, if you're learning something, because that's what we're all about. Don't forget to head on over to patreon.com/Kamp Kenan, and you guys can get, well, you can help us out, and we'll return the favor by answering questions right here. See you guys soon. Bye.